My name is Tatiana, and I have been in the USA for 2 years. We have been living in California for 2 years. I have never had experience working with a computer, only as a user, like Excel and other office programs. But at some point, all my acquaintances started telling me that I should go into QA, that maybe it would suit me because I like when all actions are logical, sequential, and nothing extra, please. And that is how I ended up in QA6, where I still am. I started with your JavaScript syntaxes course. It passed quite quickly, although, no, that's not true. At first, I started with the HTML Academy course, and that was my first introduction to how websites are built, what they consist of, and that there is front end and back end. So that was essentially the foundation upon which I built. Then I began the course on JavaScript syntaxes to further enhance my skills. I almost finished it before the start of the main QA6 training course, before April, and quickly integrated into the group specifically in terms of learning JavaScript. Yes, it was simply fascinating. You commence to recollect, you commence to grasp the concepts of mathematics, specifically algebra. It seemed to me that I probably just skipped the last few years of school because I didn't remember any theorems, absolutely nothing from mathematics. I started all over again, downloaded an algebra textbook, and solved it additionally, trying to solve it apart from the tasks in JavaScript syntax. I also tried to work out some points for myself. Not all, but I did most of it. Found it interesting in practice too. The only thing is I haven't finished it yet. I'm still solving it daily. I'm a bit short of tasks. I would really like it to increase as much as possible. Code Wars is truly a wonderful, endless field for solving problems, all sorts of intricacies, and the various ways in which it can be done. And occasionally, even after classes, we call each other, gather in CR. If a task was interesting, we start discussing how it can be done. For instance, yesterday, I believe we only split after the first night. Until then, we were all solving. It's intriguing, I'm doing it differently. So now I'm already practicing methods. Whether it's arrays, strings, or just methods, I try to rewrite everything, even after solving it with a method, into loops, into cycles, because I know that loops are asked about in interviews, and I try to keep this skill for myself. And it's even interesting to find a solution, for example, with the sort method or the filter method, which you can constantly use in every task and plug in as a ready-made solution. It is interesting for me. By the way, I am a complete humanitarian, therefore this is new, interesting, and exciting for me. Since my time in school, I have never been fond of exact sciences such as algebra, trigonometry, and physics. So for me, they were challenging, uninteresting, and I never pursued studies in these fields of expertise. I'm a humanities grad, I finished. In other words, I'm an English philologist. I can discuss literature, language history, and give an analytical breakdown, please. I also possess a second degree in management, specifically financial management, but I perceive myself to be working in a humanitarian field as well. You need to sit and study more. You need to sit and study more and find your own solutions. Because even sometimes what we discuss in classes or groups, I realize that I did not understand it, and I need to literally break it down. For example, I found a solution for myself in solving the problem that Larissa's drawings aren't always clear, but if I break down this solution for myself in Excel, it becomes clear to me. In other words, I love Excel, and I break down many tasks in Excel. To start with, an individual should be attentive to details in the first place. An individual should have the capability to think in a logical manner. This is of utmost importance. Because if an individual is unable to organize a sequence of actions in their mind as it should happen, or consistently misses certain points constantly in every lesson, then, in my opinion, I think it will be a very difficult task to accomplish. I can't imagine how a person will continue working. How much time do I spend per day? It varies. There are days when I can sit for up to 10 hours, depending on how smoothly the learning process goes on that day. Some days I sit for 3 HRs, then need a 1 HR break, and can go for another 3 HRs. In the evening, we usually have a 2 HR lesson, and after that, we might gather as a group. So, in general, I typically spend approximately 8 to 9 hours per day working on the computer. When it comes to the course, it is beneficial to have prior knowledge and find the learning process to be effortless, as it involves 2 hours of lessons each day. From my own experience, I understand that I need significantly more time. In other words, I need more time to study the same theory because I can forget it after a week, and then I need to go back, reread, understand what it is, what it's for. I need to write tests, understand the syntax, learn how to connect libraries, and how to structure a project. So all of this requires additional time. It just depends on the person. If someone has knowledge, maybe they studied in these specialties. Or in general, I notice that, for example, the guys in our group quickly grasp everything. I require additional time. How rigorous is the learning process? Yes, and quite frequently I comprehend that. Well, I figured out for myself that I need to take a break at least one day a week, just to pause, because at some point my head can't take in any more information and I can't do anything. So I need to completely change the type of activity, maybe take a break, but I even try not to approach the computer on such a day. And of course, during the day I take breaks. For me, it's necessary. Otherwise, I might just get stuck on some simple task and remain frustrated for a very long time. So yes, it is a lot of information, but I make a lot of effort to read more, search, and solve. So I'm still practicing. I know that many have completely abandoned it. I'm constantly trying to find information on the theory in a way that is convenient for me. I find it hard to absorb info just by listening in lectures, so I often take notes for myself about what I don't know, and then try to find that info and read about it. I don't enjoy watching videos. Generally, I appreciate having invited specialists in the learning process, especially at school. So we had Elmira from Google who gave a lecture. It was very interesting and motivating for me because I think I am exactly the kind of person who Elvira also performed. So it's hard for me to share my resume. I find it difficult to decide on interviews. And overall, well, after listening to such a person, for me, it's an additional step. It's useful for me. I like that Julia mentioned her acquaintance Stan Kim, if I'm not mistaken. His experience, this is the real experience of actual people. It's very useful for me. I really like the way Julia teaches. I admire how she conducts optional classes on weekends or what kind of lessons she has. Let's say the last lesson with Postman. This lesson gave me more in terms of understanding and experience probably than 2 weeks of previous training on the course altogether. I really like how Larissa explains problem solutions, especially when there is an opportunity to solve them under her guidance. So I really like it. I skipped Java. It's my oversight, but unfortunately I made this decision because I don't have enough time for everything. Well, I actually enjoy learning. Don't anticipate the teachers to provide you with all the information. If you're going into IT, it's generally expected that you'll search for a lot of info on your own and learn how to do it yourself. Don't expect to be given everything at once, chewed up and put in your mouth. No. Search, dig, delve, find new additional information and share it. Because when you start explaining something to another person, you yourself begin to understand it more, and then you will be able to tell about it better. Do not skip classes because catching up later is extremely challenging, and it is a tremendous burden that can be overwhelming. Who can do this? Well, I say again, if a person has logical thinking and can plan a sequence of actions, even if they are not a very creative individual, I think it would be interesting.